Good morning, everybody. This is Andrea Seidel from Advocates for DeKalb Animals, and I have with me today Commissioner Lorraine Cochran Johnson, who is a candidate for CEO of DeKalb County and almost an advocate herself, but she doesn't have a red shirt yet. So, just as a reminder for those who are not 100% familiar, Advocates for DeKalb Animals is a grassroots, nonprofit, citizen-based organization focused on addressing our animal crisis in DeKalb County. We have asked CEO candidates to review the data that we've developed and tell us what they are going to do to meet the massive challenges that we have with pets and their people and the community in general around animal welfare. We know that DeKalb voters care about animal welfare, even if it is not the top topic at every meeting, but we know that they care. And so today we're speaking with Commissioner Lorraine Cochran Johnson to hear more about how she plans to address the animal crisis when she becomes CEO. So thank you again for joining us, Commissioner Cochran Johnson.
Well, Andrea, thank you for having me. Also, to everyone on this call, I know that you all are each animal advocates, and honestly, you're a working example of how important it is to engage in advocacy because the issues that were raised, although I was aware of the overcrowding, it had been presented through a report, an independent report, an audit report that was done. You all brought a different level of consciousness to the issues that were taking place because many people that may be on this call, you actually volunteer, you're present. So you have provided me with valuable information to better help me help you and to understand exactly what's happening right now as it relates to our animals, both animals that are held as evidence as well as animals that are held in facility. I would like to begin by saying that, of course, many of you are aware that through your advocacy, uh, DeKalb County made an appropriation, or set aside, I should say, through our recently passed SPLOST, our 2023 SPLOST, for I believe 7.5 million was set aside to be utilized towards expanding and or remediating the negative conditions we see. In all honesty, I'm not sure if that's going to be adequate. Uh, However, it is what has been set aside. Now, one of the things that we're all keenly aware of is that we're dealing with a matter that is urgent. I too am the mother of two fur babies. I have a cat and I also have a dog. And some of the conditions that surround the animals are so deplorable that it is concerning from even for a human being quality of life due to the horrendous environment that they're faced with. And also, I would say from a public responsibility standpoint, it was actually through your advocacy that I realized that the cost to house an individual or incarcerated individual in the DeKalb County Jail is not far from the cost that's associated with housing animals on a daily basis. So we've got to remediate the condition. I would say that, I look forward to becoming your next CEO. And once I am, what I would like to do is create a board specifically that's associated with making the decisions and serving as the springboard and wise counsel to the organization that will receive the RFP that is associated with the remediation of the conditions we see. Now, I also, out of an abundance of caution, and fearing that even sometimes, because many of you may not know, but I have managed newspapers for over 20 years. I come from a writing background. And for writers, it's often very difficult for us to catch our own mistakes. And I had began to feel, as I heard from the animal advocates, and of course brought in individuals within Lifeline from the executive leadership on down, that there may be a detachment between what people see and experience and what leadership believed may be the actual case. So, as a result of that, I wrote a resolution several months ago, probably 6 months or so ago, that requested a mandatory external audit. Because prior to that time, we have relied upon those individuals within Frontline to explain to us the conditions and to tell us what was necessary to remediate them. But I do believe, and I will ensure, that an external audit takes place, and it is that audit that is used as the basis for the actions we take. That audit will not, of course, or won't only cover how animals are actually received and processed, but also all of the internal workings within the organization to ensure that we remain a no kill shelter, that we are maximizing our benefit in the community, and that we remediate the conditions. Now, one other thing that I'd like to say, because at the animal shelter, to an extent, we do provide certain free services. However, being a pet lover, I would also like to explore operating a 100% free clinic for animals. And I say this because recently I had an incident with my beloved Chico and went over to Village Vets, and it was at a price tag of around $1,600. And the average individual cannot afford animal care. And I do not want there to be encumbrances to providing, um, for, shall I say, the adoptions as well as for the long term care of animals. So I firmly believe that if we are able to progressively move pets along to homes, uh, it could be that I believe the county should bear the responsibility of operating a free clinic where animal owners, pet owners are assured that they can bring in their pets. Now, I'm not committing to that because I think that's going to require research to determine what the cost would be. But when I look at the current cost for housing, I do believe that there are possibilities there. Another thing that I committed to pretty early on, because for those of you that are with us, I want to explain how SPLOST works. Last year, in 2023, when we passed our SPLOST, and the taxpayers passed it through referendum, the SPLOST collection actually begins this year. So January 1st, 2024, we began collecting dollars for the second 6-year SPLOST. And of course, with SPLOST, it is a 6-year cycle. So technically, even when the commitment was made for the 7.5 million, if we allow SPLOST to run its course, I'm just going to sit here so that it will carry us from 24. So that would be approximately 2028 before we would have the 7.5 million in hand. But I did commit, and I do believe that it's decent and in order that we would move forward with an immediate study to determine the proper course of action to remediate the conditions and ensure that we're prepared for the future. But I would float a bond against the expected revenue because that is not unusual. In government, once we have a dedicated funding source, we can very easily use that projected income based upon that dedicated source that we know to be reliable to move forward with floating a bond against the revenue. And of course, we would pay back the monies over time as they come in. But it doesn't prevent us from moving forward, because I had a real fear that, because of how I've seen things happen in DeKalb and with SPLOST, that there may be multiple years wait before any action was taken. And this is an issue that can't wait any longer.